She said I missed another game. The timeline said otherwise. Hi, I'm Marcus Hale, 46, and I run crews for Ironspan Constructors in Cleveland. Today's story is about a house that felt steady until the floor shifted, how I learned my wife was rewriting our life in whispers, and how a clean timeline, a patient lawyer, and a tired crane operator changed the ending. For most of 2 decades, my world has been steel, rebar, and schedules. I started on cranes right after high school, moved to foreman, then site supervisor. If you've driven past the Lakeview Tower on East 9th, that skeleton of glass and patience, that's my team. The work is loud. My voice isn't. I come home with concrete dust in the folds of my jacket and a phone full of punch lists. My wife, Jenna, used to meet me at the door with questions that proved she'd listened. How did the pour hold in the wind? Did the inspector sign the beam? Somewhere last winter, the questions stopped. The phone stayed in her hand, and my son Mason, 16, looked at me like I was a guest who didn't call ahead. My daughter Lily, 14, closed her door and kept her music low so I wouldn't know it was playing. Missed another one, Jenna said on a Monday in March, scrolling with her thumb. Coach says Mason could get a scholarship if he keeps this up. I hung my hard hat on the hook we installed together the year we painted the kitchen. I was on the Lakeview pour until 9. You know what that contract means. She finally looked at me, and I felt the cold I hadn't named. Not anger. Pity. Will you make the next one? She asked. That night, I lay awake while she slept facing the wall. We hadn't touched in months. I told myself this was a season. Long marriages have weather. We'd met 24 years ago at Cuyahoga Community College. She in dental hygiene courses, me in construction management before Dad got sick, and I left to work. We got married young, Mason at 29, Lily 2 years later. We were solid then. By April, the warning signs weren't warnings. They were labels. Early morning calls in the laundry room at 6:05. New clothes, she said, came from clearance racks. Tags that said, not clearance. Cardio classes that doubled in frequency. A dinner receipt I found while digging for my reading glasses. 2 entrees at Cadoro downtown. Jenna said it was Brooke's birthday. Brooke moved to Buffalo 3 years ago. The foundation cracked for real on Thursday, May 9th. We were ahead of schedule at Lakeview. I left the site at 4:15 to pick Mason up from practice myself, a small surprise to stitch things back together. When I turned onto our street in Ohio City, a blue sedan with rental plates idled across from our driveway. I parked, walked in through the garage, and heard a laugh I hadn't heard in months, the real one, the one she used to keep for me. The kids will be home soon, Jenna said. I know, a man answered, but I had to see you. The voice took a second to place, then brought a yearbook page with it. Adrian Cole, her high school boyfriend, the one before me. We can't keep doing this, she said, and my heart climbed toward my throat because she said it soft, like a line you practice. You said you'd tell him, he said. It's been 6 months. 6 months. That was when the early calls started, when she began telling the kids, your father is never home. When I became a supporting character in a story with my name on the mortgage. I stood in the hallway and watched our life like a stranger peering through glass. Then I backed out, quiet, and drove once around the block to let a rental car leave without an accident. When I came back 20 minutes later, Jenna was at the stove, the polite smile fixed like tape. How was your day? She asked. Fine, I said, and went upstairs to sit beside our wedding photo and let a very old calm take over. I didn't explode. I called a friend, Keegan Price, a private investigator who used to pull night shifts with me before he switched careers. Walk slow, he said. Build a timeline. Keep your hands clean. The next 3 weeks were homework. Receipts, not rage. Receipts. 1. Call logs. Keegan pulled month-on-month records, a number saved as Brooke that pinged twice a day. It resolved to an Adrian P. Cole, Chicago number. Receipts. Photos. June 1st, lobby of the Lakefront Marriott, 7 or 12 p.m. Jenna in a black dress I'd never seen. Adrian in a suit that fit like an apology, the kind of hug that isn't for friends. Receipts. 3. Payments. A secret credit card opened in Jenna's name with statements mailed to a UPS box. Regular transfers from an Adrian Cole Consulting LLC. $450,900, 8 months worth. Receipts. 4. Counsel. A retainer with a family lawyer named Victor Hume, paid by a cashier's check 2 weeks earlier. Receipts. 5. Coaching. Texts between Jenna and her sister about documenting Marcus's absence for custody, asking if the kids had examples of me choosing work over family. This is not legal advice. I'm telling you what happened, not what you should do. I tested the water before I boiled it. When Jenna announced she was driving to Columbus for Brooke's birthday on a Friday in June and might stay over, I said, "You deserve time with your family," and smiled like a man who didn't own a second set of car keys. That night, Mason went to a sleepover. Lily slept at my mom's. I sat in the lot across from the Marriott with a thermos and 2 granola bars and watched a rental Ford roll in at 6:58. I took pictures I never wanted to need. At 11:40, the lobby elevator opened and told me what I already knew. Sunday morning, over pancakes, I floated a refinance. "Rates look good," I said. "We could pull some equity and take a real family trip before Mason graduates." Her cup stopped halfway to her mouth. "I don't think that's a good idea," she said, voice careful. "But I am responsibly going to update our wills. It's time." The word wills landed like a gavel. That night she told someone on the phone, "He's acting different. What if he knows?" He did. On Wednesday, Keegan sent the full report. It added a detail that made my stomach go cold. Adrian wasn't divorced. He lived in Chicago with a wife and 2 kids who had no idea their dad's travel retainer payments were buying black dresses and night classes in Cleveland. He wasn't saving Jenna, he was hedging. I sat in the truck for 20 minutes and watched the house I thought I'd built. Then I called a lawyer who speaks like a bench memo and has zero appetite for games, Elaine Porter. "Bring everything," she said, and a calm head. Elaine and her associate, Jonah, spread Keegan's binder across a conference table like a careful autopsy. "This is dissipation of marital assets," Elaine said, tapping the secret card paid with outside funds. "It affects equitable distribution. The coaching texts are evidence of parental alienation. Judges notice that. And the hotel photos plus call logs establish adultery. We file first, request temporary custody, and move for a forensic accounting. We control the narrative." "What about the kids?" I asked. "That's the only part that matters." "We request a court-appointed counselor immediately," she said. "Professionals don't buy coached lines for long." The hardest part was living beside the performance while we built the case. I kept coming home for dinner. I kept showing up for practices. I sat with Mason while he edited highlight reels and asked Lily to teach me her debate prep. I said the true things out loud. I know I've worked too much. I want to do better. Kids can feel the difference between lines and lines, spoken from a throat that hurts. Jenna felt the shift and called it out. "You're home early again," she said one Tuesday. "Lakeview's ahead," I said. "Feels good to eat hot food at a table with forks." 2 days later, June 27th at 9 a.m., Elaine filed the petition, adultery, dissipation, alienation. We requested temporary custody, a counselor, and a financial freeze pending accounting. By 11, a process server handed Jenna the papers in our driveway. I was at the site when she called. "What is this?" Her voice vibrated with practiced shock. "You filed for divorce?" "I filed for the truth," I said. "Adrian Cole, Marriott, secret card, Victor Hume. Do you want me to keep going? Silence pulled tight, then snapped. How long have you? Long enough to stop you from teaching our kids to dislike me to make your case, I said. We'll do this the honest way now. She said my name like a plea. I hung up and turned my phone off because steel was swinging overhead, and men who trust me were beneath it. Victor Hume demanded an emergency hearing. He expected a scramble. Elaine brought a binder. Timeline. Key dates. Jan 11. Call log spike to Adrian P. Cole, Chicago. Mar 3. Secret card opened. Transfers begin. May 9. Observed in-home meeting. Audio confirmed by PI note. June 01. Hotel photos. Lobbies elevator timestamps. June 27. Petition filed. Motion for temporary custody. Plus counselor. Policies notes. Evidence of parental alienation. Texts suggesting coaching. Potential dissipation. Third-party funding of lifestyle. Request for forensic accounting and financial freeze. Counselor appointment sought immediately for children's best interests. This is not legal advice. At the emergency hearing on July 3rd, Judge Alvarez read quietly for longer than comfort. Then she looked at Jenna, the way inspectors look at bolts that matter. Mrs. Hale, she said, this court takes parental alienation seriously. The exhibits suggest you have been coaching the children to view their father as absent, while conducting an extramarital relationship funded in part by a third party. She turned to Victor. Counsel, you didn't advise your client to disclose the secret account? Victor tried to object. The judge held up a hand. Temporary custody to Mr. Hale, she said. Supervised visitation for Mrs. Hale pending evaluation. Forensic accounting granted. All parties will refrain from disparaging speech in front of the children. Counselor appointment is immediate. Jenna blinked like the room tilted. Victor went pale the way paper does. I didn't cheer. I went home and cooked spaghetti because it was Tuesday, and Mason had practice film to review. 3 weeks later, Jonah confirmed what Keegan suspected. Adrian's wife in Chicago had been notified by her own counsel. Their joint accounts were frozen. The consulting LLC payments stopped. Jenna moved into Brooke's spare room in Parma. The house, built of quiet routines and season tickets and school pickups, stayed with me and the kids. If you're still with me, take a second to like and subscribe. It tells the algorithm that quiet power stories matter and helps them reach people who might need the calm version of courage. The counselor met with Mason and Lily separately. Mason told her about the weird questions. Mom kept asking if Dad loved the job more than us, he said. I didn't know what the right answer was supposed to be. Lily was blunter. I saw her holding hands with a man at the mall, she said. I felt like I was the one doing something wrong. By September, the evaluation was complete. The report didn't use cruel words. It used clinical ones that say more: coaching, negative scripting, role reversal. Judge Alvarez adopted the recommendations almost line by line. The settlement came in November without a trial. Elaine said sometimes the truth saves everyone from the worst day of their lives. Jenna received limited alimony for 12 months, no claim to my pension, and a parenting plan that starts with supervision and earns more time as the kids' counselor recommends. The court sanctioned Victor for discovery failures and inadequate inquiry into client representations. I didn't ask what that cost him. I had 2 kids and a punch list. Adrian filed in Chicago. His wife took the house. His business limped and then didn't. That's their ledger to reconcile. Here is mine. Lakeview Tower hit completion ahead of schedule and under budget. Iron Span gave me project manager and a new desk that faces a window. Mason took a football scholarship to Ohio Northern. Lily joined debate and announced at dinner that she might want to be a lawyer who asks better questions than Victor. I told her I knew 2 who would teach her for free. Jenna sends texts sometimes that say, I'm sorry, and sometimes, When can I see them next? We stick to the order and the calendar because that's where feelings can be kept safe. When she shows up for visits and stays inside the lines, the kids breathe easier. When she doesn't, the counselor is there to catch it. I keep the binder in a drawer labeled simply Timeline. It isn't a trophy. It's a reminder. Facts are not weapons. They are lights. They don't make you bigger. They help you see. Here's the part I wish I'd learned sooner. Overtime is not the same as absence. Love isn't the same as endless accommodation. And the story other people tell about you does not become true just because they say it more often. If you're going through a season that feels like erasure, you don't have to shout. Write the dates. Save the statements. Be kind in public and precise in private. This is not legal advice. It's a man with concrete in his cuffs telling you that clean lines on paper and in life can hold a lot of weight. Storms came. The frame held. And once the noise stopped, the house felt like ours again.